families, creating a lifetime of memories. Sadly, some families are denied these important moments due to the sad practice of alienation. These are families divided.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Families Divided TV. Dr. Heleen Koppejan from the Netherlands, who is a psychologist, will be speaking to you today on the research and how they do things there when the divorce is going through all the steps and the parenting plans aren't put in place. Well, sometimes a child is being used, unfortunately and sadly, as a pawn and brainwashed into stating there's abuse when there's not abuse. So they have to do research. And a lot of what they do in the Netherlands is the same as what they do here in the United States. So pay close attention. You'll learn a lot. And she's going to discuss with you all the different steps that are being taken. Also, we're going to hear today from Megan Hunter, who is our moderator as well as a presenter at our upcoming fall conference, Alienation, the Truth Regarding the Trauma and the Abuse. I cannot emphasize enough, this is the most strongest, intriguing conference that we can have. It's really, really good. The presentations are off the chart. They're really strong on teaching you about abuse. This is great for those who are professionals and those who are non-professionals, alienated family members. Trust me, I'm being honest with you. This is by far the most strongest and important and an educational conference you can attend. So please register for this conference. We're in registration now. It is a virtual international conference. People are registering from all over the world. If it's where you can't be with us live, that's okay. You're able to view it at your convenience whenever you want. You can do that. You just have to be registered now. So you want to register. We're gonna be doing all kinds of things. We're gonna start Friday night at 7 and go straight through Sunday night at 10. So even in the middle of the night, we're going to have one-on-one breakout rooms for those all over the world in different time zones who want to share with others what they're going through and their experiences. So it's really encouraging. Also, if you are a professional or you have an organization or a support group and you want to advertise for them, you can do so at no extra cost. The only thing is you have to be registered, and we're gonna do that. And you can go to our homepage and see that on our website for our conference web page. So it is free. People are saying, okay, what's the catchy lane? And nothing. So you want to go there and check it out. So I'm going to look forward to seeing you there. We've spent a lot of time on this, many hours I have spent researching and doing what we need to do. So we're hoping to make this the best ever. So look forward to seeing you then. So we're going to be back in just a moment with Megan Hunter and Dr. Heleen Koppejan right after these messages.
Divorce and co-parenting are a major life interruption for families, especially the kids, but also for parents and grandparents. And it's even worse in blame-filled, high-conflict cases. When parents engage in alienation by turning the kids against the other parent or grandparents, kids suffer. They're denied the opportunity to build the 4 big skills necessary for future resilience. New Ways for Families online class can help. Parents learn to use our popular BIF and EAR skills to calm the conflict and stop the hostile emails and texts. And we even have a class for kids and parents to learn together. Research shows a 75% improvement in joint parental decision-making after this course is taken, plus overall improvements for kids' well-being. Don't wait to make this affordable investment in your children's future and improve your well-being too. Start learning new ways for your family today at conflictplaybook.com.
Sadly, too many know the pain and trauma associated with parental and grandparent alienation. Family Access, Fighting for Children's Rights, will present an important international virtual conference on October the 13th through the 15th, 2023. The conference, entitled Alienation, The Truth Regarding the Trauma and Abuse, will feature world-renowned experts in the field of alienation. You'll join the conference event coordinator, Heleen Koppejan, and moderator, Megan Hunter, as they introduce you to keynote speaker, Dr. Edward Kruk. Plus, you'll hear important presentations from Dr. Joshua Coleman, Lisa Rothfuss, Dr. Mary Alvarez, Chris Smith, Bill Eddy, Dr. Noel Hunter, Dr. Sue Kornblum, Dr. William Burnett, Megan Hunter, and Jordan Traeger. Join the many attendees already securing their spot for the conference entitled Alienation, The Truth Regarding the Trauma and Abuse. For information, visit familyaccess.info for all the details. The special conference is being hosted by Family Access, Fighting for Children's Rights, Steel Partners Foundation, and PASCA, Parental Alienation is Child Abuse.
Today, we're going to be talking about researching contact loss between parent and child, a method that I have developed and I use when I talk to parent and child in the Netherlands. Starting in the beginning, as we always do, and I'm sure I don't need to explain any of you what this picture means. The creation of a new life. And whilst this life is being created in the womb of the mother, we know that each child, each new child, will have its own way of developing itself. We call that the epigenetic landscape. Waddington in 1957 introduced this theory, and here you see a little ball that will find its own way in its own life. A unique life, a unique creature. But not only will this child develop in its own path, it will have people around it. So it's also a bioecological model that is part of my method in the Netherlands. And when the child is small, it will go to childcare, it will meet its immediate family, parents, grandparents, or aunts and uncles and nephews and nieces, and it will start playing in the neighborhood. And it grows and it will get friends and neighbors, and it will start working, and all the aspects of a broader society become relevant for this child. And later, when it's full grown, it will live in a country, and each country is unique with its own laws, its own values, and its own customs. And we know also that each child, following its own unique path, creates an attachment style. Ainsworth and Bell have researched this thoroughly. And we know the 4 attachment styles. One of them is a secure attachment. In this secure attachment, the child learns that it can rely on itself for solving problems, but also can rely on others for helping him or her when a problem is too big to take care of itself. But we also know 3 unsecure styles. One of them is an anxious style. In this style, the child is presented with situations where, and especially in the most important moments, it finds that it cannot rely on support of others. This child may grow up as an adult not fully trusting itself and not fully trusting others. We have a third style, we call it the avoidant style. And in this style, children learn very soon, very early in life, you cannot depend on others. You have to do it yourself. And these children grow up as adults with a lot of trust in themselves, but with no trust in others. And we'll know the last style, which is a disorganized style. And you see here a picture of a child with a black eye and a mother already pregnant again for the second time, probably drinking some wine. We know that disorganized attachment can be the result of family abuse. And if we look again at the bioecological model, we see, for instance, a man and a woman getting to know each other in the workplace. And they fall in love. And everything is sweet and everything is beautiful. And they marry. And sometimes, in some situations, the marriage doesn't last. And we know from research that now in about 40 to 50% of the marriages, they end up in a divorce. Parents start quarreling. And sometimes the divorce is really hectic and children suffer, don't know which way to go. And then the laws of the country start playing a role, as does the legal system in the Netherlands. And in this system in the Netherlands, they often ask me to research the dynamics underlying contact loss. Because if parents separate and it is a complex divorce, sometimes it happens that a child tells to the neighborhood, to the parents, I don't want to see one of my parents anymore. I don't like it there, or it's dangerous there. We call that a contact loss. One of the dynamics that can be underlying this contact loss is parental alienation. And this is especially what I'm talking about today. I always work from a model that I've designed in one of my first researches. And in this model, I will always ask the history of parents. The history of parents is important. What is their attachment style? What's their personality? How did the relationship start? How did it end? And I ask about covert behavior. And what we mean with covert behavior is what we feel and what we think, which is covered. We don't see it. And of course, when we start doing something, when we start crying, or we start screaming, or we start laughing, people see what we do, this overt behavior. But covert behavior is also the behavior behind the front door. The behavior in the privacy of a family, behavior that people from outside not always see. And when emotions are high, emotions like feeling of loss or perhaps feelings of anger, we sometimes see that a child gets influenced in the loyalty. And a child can become in a situation that he indeed experiences a loyalty conflict. This has short-term effects, and it can lead to the process of parental alienation, which has long-term effects. Our society, the social environment of the family, but also our macro system plays a role. What do we do when we see that a child loses a parent? Do we look away, or do we do something? And I believe that for a long time we've looked away. In the Netherlands, we've looked so much away that children that had parents that divorced in the last century, 20% of these children, which are indeed now full grown, lost contact with their father. And 5% lost contact with their mother. So we did look away. The short-term effects I've studied when a child becomes influenced in the loyalty are sadness. They can't sleep. Sometimes they show withdrawn behavior or anger. And they cling to the parent they have chosen. It had only just that one parent, the other parent, it has rejected. Sometimes we see that the child doesn't function well in school. And we know the children at the one stage when there's so much influencing in their loyalty don't know what to think or feel anymore. And the feelings and thoughts of the parent that they have chosen become as part of the child. And then these children are sent to us, to psychologists. And the parents say, there's a problem with the child. Please find out what's the matter. The question is it a problem within the child, or is it a problem in the surroundings of the child, a problem in the family? The long-term effects have been studied well, for instance, by Baker and Verrocchio, Burnett. And we know that people that have experienced parental alienation when they were young experience that they have lower career profit. They experience higher rates of anger and of depression. They feel guilty. They feel guilty lifelong. And stress did never go away. Although we looked away and the child was left to be, so to speak, the stress remained. They get anxious. They somatize, feel the pain that they have mentally in their body. They perhaps form an unsafe, unsecure attachment style themselves, more abuse, alcohol or drugs are reported. And in the end, they don't know who they are. What do they think? What do they feel when so many thoughts and beliefs of the parent they chose became integrated? When I do my study, this family study, I will always have a long talk with parents. And these talks can endure from 3 to maybe 5 hours each time, each parent apart. And I discuss with them their own youth, the memories. Perhaps there's been domestic violence. What do they remember about it? I discuss their relation and the divorce and the current family composition. I discuss the care arrangement and the influence of the parent social system. I discuss the financial situation and perhaps other relevant factors that may also arise. And then I have done a study on which also I base my research, my family research. And in this study, we have looked at the role of emotions versus co-parenting concerns. And we found that a higher score on rage, on contempt, on stress, on disgust, hatred, and anger, and a lower score on happiness explained 45% of co-parenting concerns. And the co-parenting concerns are always at the heart of parental alienation. The theme, the discussion that the parents will show, saying the child is not safe at the other parent doesn't take good care of the child. Those kind of co-parenting concerns are explained by a higher score of their own emotions. I always use a questionnaire using the emotions that you see here, emoticons of anger, of shame, of contempt, of love, of hatred, of grief. You can figure out which are the rest of the emotions as well. And I ask, what do you feel when you think of your ex-partner? And they can choose 1, 2, 3, 5 of the emotions that you see above mentioned, and then they can say to what extent they feel it, from a scale from 1 to 10, so to speak, and 0 is not applicable. And other questions may be, what do you feel when your child is at your ex-partner's? And what does your family feel when your child is at your ex-partner's? I also question their beliefs, emotions, and concerns. For instance, questions, and using the same scale, when my children are at my ex, I believe he buys or she buys their love. Or I believe that my children might prefer the other parent. Or concerns, I believe that he or she does not take good care of them. I always talk with the child. It's the child that shows me if the concerns of the parents of, for instance, abuse by the other parent is true or not. Also here I use the emotions that I've already discussed. And I ask children, what do you feel when you think of your hobby, your school, your parents' divorce, your friends, etc. And I get a view of what this child is experiencing without this sort of really strict atmosphere that often is created when we talk to children and ask, for instance, the question, tell me, why do you not want to go to your father or to your mother? And I use the same scale. And then I check the 8 alienating behaviors. And this is the most important part of my research there. I check if there is a campaign of denigration. I check if the child utters weak, absurd, or frivolous rationalizations for the rejection. I check if there is a lack of ambivalence. And if the child really believes, I don't want to see my father or my mother, it's not the other parent that's influencing me. I check if the child reflectively supports the alienating parent. And I check if the child shows any feelings of guilt. And we know that they don't show it when they are alienated, but we also know that they feel it deep underneath. I check if there's a presence of borrowed scenarios. And finally, I check if the child still has contact with the family of the rejected parent. And I do that by a questionnaire in which you can see colors, blue, pink, green, purple, etc. And I have a lot of questions that the child has to answer. For instance, or not questions, more statements. For instance, my father is a liar, or my mother is a liar, or neither lie, or both of them are liars. And they can fill that in themselves. And each color is one of the 8 behaviors. And you see in the right down corner, I take care of my question mark, question mark, question mark. She or he needs me to, is checking if there is a question of parentification, when a child really takes on a role of the parent. And then I make my report, and this is going to a court hearing. So I do these investigations for court, in order by court. And the questions that I will always answer is, why is the care arrangement not being followed up? Are there practical reasons? For instance, is there too much distance between a parent and a child? Are there legitimate reasons? Is the child being abused by the father or mother that it rejects to see? What's the influence of the past, the influence that the parents have experienced in their past? And is there influencing in the child's loyalty? And Baker and Verrocchio have shown many behaviors that are classified as behaviors that might lead to a loyalty conflict. What's the role of the social system? And what are the threats for the development of the child? If here in the Netherlands, the court needs to make a decision, they want to know if the child is being threatened in the development. And then I give advice. What is the best help for this family? And of course, I also answer the other questions that the judge might have. In the Netherlands, I also train professionals that work with parents and children that suffer from parental alienation. And I wrote a book about it, and you can see it here in Dutch. Ouderonthechting, wetenschap, praktijk en recht is what I would say in Dutch. And it's parental alienation, science, practice, and law. And here in this book, I find a combination of what we know from scientific studies and what I know from my practice when I work with parents and children in this situation. And I combine that with what we know about the rulings of court here in the Netherlands. I thank you very much for your attention.
Hi, everyone. I am really, really excited to be a part of this fantastic conference. I'm hoping that you will want to attend and learn so much more than you already know about to handle truly some of the most difficult and sometimes terrifying challenges and situations that we can ever have in life, dealing with alienation, right? So I'm Megan Hunter. I am the CEO and the co-founder of the High Conflict Institute, along with Bill Eddy, who is another speaker at this conference. He's really great, so I hope you'll listen to him too. What I'm going to talk about is whether there's a magic wand with alienation. I think we'd like to think that court is the magic wand. If I just can get into court and force this person or get the judge to explain or make an order that will solve all of this, we often can get in that mindset and think there's a magic wand. But instead, it might be more of a series of smaller steps that we have to take and be consistent in those steps, whether they're communication or other things that I'll be talking about. Now, on the rare occasion, there might be an individual, a parent, a grandparent, or other family member who sort of has a stroke of insight and says, okay, what I've been doing, turning this child, I didn't even realize I was turning this child against the other parent or against the grandparents or other family members. I've seen that happen very rarely. More often than not, they're not going to have that insight, and we can't expect that. We can pray for it, and we can do other things that influence it and that influence conflict. So in this workshop, I'm going to talk about some strategies such as verbal communication strategies. If you've heard me talk before, or Bill Eddy, you'll hear us talk every time about using ear statements, something with empathy, attention, and respect that's going to influence conflict. It's going to de-escalate. For written communication, emails, letters, text messages, DMs, any kind of written communication, we use what's called the BIF response, something that's brief, informative, friendly, and firm. It extracts all of the conflict and will de-escalate and stop all of the back and forth. What do these two things result in? They result in calming conflict. They result in extracting conflict from an otherwise high conflict situation. I'll also be talking about some stress-reducing techniques for you, because I know that cases such as these are really hard on our health and our well-being and our mental health. And so learning some stress-reducing techniques can be very helpful. I'm not going to teach you how to breathe. You already know how to do that, and there are others who can explain those techniques far greater than I can. But for these really challenging cases, I might have some helpful techniques. We're going to talk about challenging your own assumptions and trying to look at things from many different perspectives. How to approach people who don't like you very much. You're at that school play together, or you have to now go to the wedding or the graduation and see people that don't like you. And maybe you don't like them. So how can we approach that situation? And then kind of identifying your own conflict strengths and weaknesses, and making adjustments where necessary. We'll touch on all of those things. These are things that I've used in my own life, and I've seen many, many other people use them very successfully. So I hope you'll come to the conference and learn so much from all of the speakers, and hopefully get some very meaningful, game-changing information for yourself. So I hope to see you there.
our next episode of Families Divided TV, Lena Helblum Sjogren will speak on promoting the child's need of, and right to, family life.